It is still iBrandTV Daybreak, and we're moving straight to the main topic of discussion this morning. Brics, an acronym for 5 of the largest emerging countries: Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. The Brics countries comprise about 42% of the global population and 32% of global gross domestic product. By contrast, the U.S. has only 4% of the global population and 16% of global GDP. In addition, several countries are rumored to be joining the BRICS alliance in the future, including Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Egypt, Turkey, Thailand, and Indonesia. The BRICS countries have grown weary of being beholden to the U.S. dollar and U.S. monetary policy. This is particularly true in recent years, with the 40% increase in the U.S. money supply that has led to the highest inflation in 40 years. The increase of the U.S. federal government debt to GDP to 120%, double the level of 15 years ago and triple the level of 40 years ago, plus over $200 trillion in unfunded liabilities for Social Security, Medicare, and other obligations. And of course, the aggressive U.S. foreign policy, including sanctions relating to the Russia-Ukraine war. So far, the BRICS have started initiatives such as the New Development Bank for Infrastructure, lending a contingent reserve arrangement to protect against foreign exchange pressures, and a BRICS payment system as an alternative to the Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunications. Joining us to have this conversation this morning is Samson Owolabi. He's an investment research analyst with ARM Securities. Good morning, Samson. You're welcome.
Good morning, Jim.
All right, let's talk about BRICS. You know, these guys have mostly, when the moment you hear BRICS, you know, what comes to mind is a group of people who are tired of America and, you know, their strict measures, especially when it comes to monetary policies and all, you know. Do you think that this new currency that brings the BRICS want to float, do you see it rivaling the dollar anytime soon?
Okay, so thank you very much for that. But one thing I would like to say concerning that is when you look at the ideology and the reason behind BRICS, you have to like use it to like have a trajectory of where they're going and the reason why they are setting up this currency. It's not really about as much as they are like political reasons for them coming together to like set up the BRICS and also to like build their own currency. We also have to understand that the motive behind them coming together is just to have like a common goal and have this kind of like trade relation with each other, just to like boost each other's like economy. So saying that them coming together, they're not really bringing up this new currency to like tackle the US dollar, because if they want to do that, it's not something that can be done in a day. The US dollar has been in the market for a very long time and it has this track record of let's say consistency in terms of value and in terms of the things that they bring in, despite all the economic challenges that it has faced. So them coming together is not really something that they really want to like, let's say, go head to head against the dollar. They just want to have their own currency in such a way that they'll be able to like do their own normal business, and they can also like have their own trade relationship easily without any sanctions and without any issue. So those were the major reasons why they came together to form the BRICS. So in terms of like maybe contesting or maybe competing against the dollar, I don't really think it's something that is like feasible in the very short term, because based on the track record that the US dollar has on the market.
Okay, there's been conversations. The word on the street actually is that the US dollar is, you know, facing some challenges right now. I mean, even among the abokis, the local guys that we have, you know, trading the dollar here in Nigeria, when you try to have the conversations with them, the next thing they tell you is that, you know, dollar is really falling these days. So everybody's being careful with their usage. I want to bring it down to, you know, when the euro was introduced. I think that was in 1999, and you know, people didn't really see it as something that would thrive. believe. But you know, me and you, we know where the euro is today, and I'm sure these kinds of conversations were had at the time as well. Now, BRICS has some strong men behind it, talking about the Brazilians, the Russians, China as well. You know, these are people you really do not want to get in their bad book, and they are really serious about these conversations. Do you see them, especially with the influence that China has over a lot of African countries? Do you see them influencing other African countries, major bloc leaders like Nigeria and Egypt, and joining the BRICS?
Well, concerning that, I can agree with you concerning what you said about the BRICS having a very strong hold in terms of their population, compared to the world, and also in terms of the trade activities. However, one thing that we also have to note is that in as much as BRICS has like 40% of the world GDP, and they have a very large strong base, you also have to understand that in the market, foreign transactions, 80% of foreign transactions in the market, international market, is like done in US dollars, with the US dollars. So you will see that most transactions around the world, they use the US dollars to trade, and it's very it has been there over time, it has been consistent. So saying that, when you now look at what is going to maybe say and what they are introducing, and also the euro, is something that if it comes on board, if they have this currency, is going to thrive. However, is it going to compete against the dollar directly? Is it going to give it let's say maybe a run for its money? I don't really think that is going to happen in the short term, based on the impact of the US dollar over time. However, what I think is that they are going to have a lot of influence, because when you look at what is happening right now concerning the Russia-Ukraine conflict, as we've stated before, you realize that these countries are trying to look for a way to have an alternative to the US dollar. So they are trying to make sure that they have something else to fall back on, so that all the sanctions and all these restrictions will not really affect them. So in the long run, it's something that, okay, we can see that it's going to work out if they follow the process that they have been following over time. Because for me, I believe that they have been strategic enough. When you look at the ways that they have been doing it, that's been around for a very long time now, and they have been having their plans, and they've been following it over time. And also you see a lot of countries trying to come in to join them. However, they have been strategic about bringing in countries. So I think they're going to strive maybe in the long term, but right now in the short term, it's still something that I think that the dollar is still here to stay. It will compete. Actually, euro is in the market also, people use the euro, but the dollar is still the major currency that is cuts across the whole world.
Yeah, still talking about the rivalry with the dollar. Yeah, I think countries like China already, have passed bills to, I think Brazil and China came to that agreement some time ago, maybe early this year or late last year, to bypass the dollar. So when they are trading among themselves, they're going to use whatever other currency they agree on. I'm not very sure about which one it is right now. And then you hear other, world countries, strong countries, having these same kinds of conversations about bypassing the dollar. Because where I'm going with this is how that you've mentioned that they've been very strategic with the way that they're doing things. You don't see them rivaling the dollar. But what are the things you feel like if they put in place, like bypassing the dollar via their personal transactions? What are the other things you think that maybe if they are able to do them, then they can be able to probably compete?
Well, so concerning that, what I know that they can do is that they have to, as I've said before, being strategic about your plans. And also, when you look at it, it boils about consistency and the level of trust people have in that particular currency. Because when you see people trading in the currency, they want the currency in such a way that it is backed on something relatable and strong in the market. And when you see people doing that, and they have this currency, and they have also stated that your currency will be backed by gold. So when you look at that, you see that, okay, something that is still going to be strong enough. And also in terms of trade, there's one thing about trade. When you look at the foreign trade, you see the more people can buy from a particular country, they are maybe in terms of foreign trade transactions, if they buy more from a particular country, it's going to get to a state that they have to demand for the country's currency more, and this is where the value comes around, and this is where the dollar usually builds its value. So when they can have this capacity especially for a country like China and for a country like Russia and also India. You know, they have a very strong hold on the market, and Nigeria also, we trade with them a lot. So once they have this particular leg room in the market, a lot of countries will come around and want to join them, and that's the reason why we are seeing a lot of countries come around and join them. So in a situation like that, over time, you realize that people might want to like go there to like let's say trade with them and trade on with that particular currency. So that is going to like give them a leg room. But the thing about it is that consistency and being able, the trustworthiness of that currency is like the major goal here.
Okay. You just mentioned Nigeria. It's a good thing you mentioned them. I don't want us to talk about the area of Nigeria joining just yet, but because Nigeria is a major player in the world of oil trade, and you know, these people actually also major players as well in buying and selling of oil. Do you think this? What do you think this spells for all economies like Nigeria?
Okay, so well, all economies have their own like different like fundamentals, and they have their different let's say their different characteristics. So when you look at it, the way it's going to affect a particular country will be different from the way it's going to affect another country. You get, so in terms of Nigeria, when you look at it, one thing I would just say that it has its own benefits for a country like Nigeria, and also has its own downside. In terms of benefit, you know, we have to like, let's say we have less pressure on the Nigerian naira, because when you look at it, we see that we trade a lot with the US dollar, and Nigerian currency is like very like susceptible to the US dollar. So when we have another currency like that we're trading in, and we can like move from that particular side, it's going to like make it easy for Nigeria. The pressure that is going to be on the Nigerian currency is going to like reduce, and also in terms of our like foreign reserve Federal Reserve, and you know, it's going to like give us this kind of a leg room. You know, it's going to like make us to be more buoyant. So it has its own benefit for Nigeria, and based on the fact that Nigeria trades with China a lot, like in our imports, like we have like 1.3 trillion in terms of import from China, and from India we have like 368 billion, and in terms of United States now we have like 312 for United States, according to the last foreign trading goods statistics that were released in Q4 2022. So when you look at that, you see that we have a lot that we're importing from China. So if you have another currency there, you know, that particular dependency on the US dollar, we have to like demand for another currency. So that is where it comes in, that we have to like have a reserve in that particular currency, and we have to like, you know, work with in terms with that currency. So that is going to like reduce the pressure on the dollar. We are shifting to another side, and you know, but the, let's say, the volatility of that new currency, that is where it now comes to play. You now have to like look for a way that, oh, how is volatile is this currency? Is this going up today, going down today? Is it like, you know, very volatile, and is it something that is going to like affect our economy? So that is just one thing about the upside and the downside of this.
All right, let's take it a bit political. Yeah, let's look at the diplomatic end of things. So Nigeria is currently owing China a lot, and we have this alliance with America. And you see, that kind of puts us in the middle. So if today we decide to go with Brics, America can fit to vex for us like this. You know, problem will just start.
Yeah.
So, and you know, there's been this subtle war going on among the world powers. Nobody's really coming out to call out anybody and really lashing out, just like Russia is doing with Ukraine right now. But we know that there is so much, you know, this Cold War, subtle war going on. Do you think this Brics movement will aggravate it the more, especially for young countries like Nigeria, who are, you know, trying to balance off of the strength of America and, you know, the economic power of China, and we're in the middle of these two people who are having their own war, where it's like two elephants are fighting, and the grass is somewhere here suffering.
Yeah.
How do you think, you know, where do you see Nigeria in all this mix?
Well, where I see Nigeria is that I think one of the reasons why we are just here right now is because of the fact that we have our own structural issues. Assuming Nigeria is a strong country in such a way that, you know, it can like survive a lot on its own, like we are exporting more, and countries have to like depend to like get more from us, and we are not the one depending like to want to like get more from them. It would have been easier. But in a situation where we have like, we are exporting a lot, we are like exporting like our raw crude oil just to like get the refined one. You know, it puts us in a situation that we can't really have much to like say. So concerning that, what I would just say is that, you know, when we look at these political issues, every country on its own, they have their own will and their own like let's say right to trade with whoever they wanted to trade with, except in situations where maybe a particular country has been labeled maybe like by world organizations that okay, this particular country, they have been committing a particular crime, and they're just placing sanctions on them. And when you look at Russia, you see that despite all the sanctions on Russia, Russia is just thriving. If those sanctions were placed on a country like Nigeria, can we survive?
Sure.
You know, it's going to like affect us a lot. So if we are strong internally, it's going to like help us out there. But one thing I would just say about Nigeria is that Nigeria can just, you know, once we are like making we are doing our normal trade and we are like doing our normal businesses without siding or without doing, you know, it just depends on like policies and how you relate with countries. You know, you don't have to like say that, oh, China is fighting this particular country, I'm not going to trade with them. It doesn't really work like that in the international market. You get every country has its own rule and right. So in that, it's not really something that should really affect Nigeria if we have the right ways of like interacting with those countries. And
okay, yeah. Let's look at the Commonwealth countries, and you know, countries in, you know, we've signed treaties with such kinds of organizations, United Nations, the Commonwealth countries, and all that. And if you look at the countries in Brics, these people, if I'm to say it the way we say it in Pidgin, those people, they don't really send anybody. Do you understand? So they are the people who have the wherewithal to do whatever they want. And you already know that if for a country like Russia, China, these people have their strong independence for a very long time, not dependent on anybody. And then ruined countries like Nigeria, no matter how bad we feel things are, you know, at home, out there we still have a very good outlook. Like for if a country like Nigeria joins Brics, it's going to, you know, help a lot with all these things that you've been talking about, you know, trustworthiness, other African countries. I know African countries that the moment Nigeria joins, it's a go ahead for them. People like Benin Republic, Chad, these people look up to us, you know, to make certain decisions. So do you see that if Nigeria joins, you know, that subtle war still, if Nigeria joins and, you know, we get to that point where other African countries are joining in, and we have all these other treaties that we had signed with them, other organizations, what do you think that spells for it? Is it something you think will sit well?
Okay, so in terms of treaties and what you said, you know, you have to understand that, okay, what were the things that were stated in these treaties? Okay, what were the things that, okay, the agreement that you had, but in terms of that, it's not really like, maybe you just said in that treaty that, oh, Nigeria must not trade with this country. For the fact that you're with us, you must not have anything to do with another country. As I've said before, every country has their own favor to trade. However, when it now comes to Nigeria saying that, okay, maybe Russia and Ukraine, they are fighting, I want to support Russia, I'll be sending arms to Russia just to like help them with the battle. That's where something comes about. And they will now say that, oh, you are like facilitating what they are doing. But in terms when we're just about trade, countries can go like fight wars and everything, and when you're trading with them and you just keep it on that particular trade, and you can like have let's say a value that particular country needs from you, you don't really have issues. So in terms of countries that are like looking up to Nigeria, what I would just say is that, well, it's not really that maybe we're looking up to Nigeria like that. It's just because they have like a lot of trade relations with Nigeria, and they have this common interest and goals there. So what I would just say is that if Nigeria joins, if it's something that aligns with their own views also and their own strategy, they will join. But if it doesn't align with them, they might decide not to join.
Okay, maybe I should put it this way. Yeah, you have the USAID and you have the United Nations aids. Let me just say aids that we get from, you know, these people. Do you think Nigeria can survive without these aids and, you know, all these free monies that we receive once in a while, because we're a third world country and these people are looking at us like they need our help? They are, you know, handing out these things to us. And if Nigeria breaks that kind of relationship that you know, she has with countries like America, the Britain, and, you know, the EU and all that, and decide that, okay, from now on We are joining these people who are causing problem in the world. Do you get the kind of picture I'm trying to paint? So if we break out from all these people that we have sending us these helps once in a while, do you see us surviving? And do you think Russia has that type of time and empathy to look out for, you know, African countries who are, you know, regarded as third world and cannot really help themselves in certain situations?
Okay, so concerning what you just said now, one thing I'm sure of is that when you look at the foreign trade income statistics for South Africa, you realize that they still have trade with the US, even though they are with Brics, you know. So what I'm just trying to say is that even though we are like trading with them, we can still have a good relationship with them. For the fact that we're still trading with Russia, we can still have a good relationship with US. It's just about trade. It's about business. Once you have a value that you're giving them, they have nothing against you. You get. Now, when you're not looking at maybe the relationship, as I've said before, you know, this boils down on the policy and the government and the decisions of the government. It's about how you interact with these people. Even as much as US and China, they have been fighting all of this time. You see big companies like Nike, Apple, they still have their industries in China, and they're still importing it back to the US. So all those things are not like really a factor that can like cause a particular conflict in the market and in terms of like trade, you get. So as much as it's about business, no issues. Now concerning all the hate that we get, we are not the only country getting hate from all these people, and they have one thing that they have been using like to help us, and it's because we are also part of their organization, have this particular like treaty and also agreements that we've signed with them. So in
and we're still looking at the BRICS. These countries have come together to form an alliance, and you know, they're making a lot of statements shaking the world. And I still have Samson Owolabi having this conversation with me. So we're rounding up already. Let's look at the dollar. It's never been this bad for the American, you know, monetary system. The rest of the world is almost actually depending on the dollar for trade and everything else that, you know, revolves around money. And even to the local bureau de change guys, they will tell you that the dollar has not been doing so well recently. And I know that there are times when these things happen. I mean, money goes up and down. It's a trade system. That's how it happens. But it's never been this obvious, especially for, you know, a currency as strong as the dollar. Why do you think that is?
Okay, so concerning that, when you look at the latest news and also developments in the market, you realize that the United States economy, they have also had their own, like, let's say, rainy days these days, and they have been having several issues in terms of like curbing inflation, increasing interest rates aggressively, and this has impacted the banking sector in the US. You know, there's significant sell-offs, and we can now see a lot of like depositors and investors moving their funds from the regional banks to like the big banks, the likes of JP Morgan and Bank of America. So when you look at all those things, you know, there's this fear of a recession on the US. You know, one thing about aggressive interest rate hikes is that when it gets to a particular stage, you always have a lagging effect. So by the time you're hiking it, you might not see the effects at that time. But when it gets to a particular stage, when the hike has reached a particular point, it's going to like have a serious effect, like on the economy, and there's going to be a slowdown. Now when there's a particular slowdown in that economy, it leads to a particular stage in which there will be layoffs, decline in revenue and the like. So when it gets to that stage, you know, there's going to be investors will be like moving their funds, they will be looking for a safer place to like invest in. So all those things are part of the issues that the US economy is having right now. And when there's lower demand for a particular currency in the market, the value of that currency will be declining. So those are like the major issues that are going concerning the US dollar. So that is one of the issues that is really affecting it right now and everything. But I still believe that it's still like a seasonal sort of, it's something that as time goes on, they're still able to like recover from it.
All right, but do you think that is, you know, what the BRICS trying to take advantage of for? Because lastly, just before we go, you think this is what the BRICS trying to take advantage of? The fact that they're having these issues and there is this fear of inflation, you know, trying to float their own currency at a time like this, probably to take over. And do you think that currency, are you positive about it?
Well, concerning your first question about BRICS maybe taking advantage of it, I'll say that it's a possibility. However, they always they want to like run, like have this let's say a shield from the sanctions from US and also the G7 countries. Now, in terms of the outlook for the BRICS and their currency, well, I think it's something that in the long run you might see something positive about it. But for now, what I was writing Nigeria for is just to like still have take this wait and observe and look approach towards it, and we should not like have this let this head-on effect and this heading bias rather to have an effect on us. You know, we don't want to like rush with the crowd and say, oh, let's do it. So that's just it. But in the long term, I see them, if they have this, if they follow through with their strategy, something that would like be a very big play in the markets.
All right. Thank you so much, Samson, for coming on the show this morning. It's been beautiful having this conversation with you.
It's a pleasure. Thank you very much.
All right. We hope to have Samson again sometime to continue having this conversation, because the BRICS is coming. They are here already, actually. And, you know, they are making these statements in the systems, and we're going to keep bringing you updates as it unfolds. Thank you so much for being a part of this segment. It is still iBrandTV Daybreak, and my name is Uche Zoe. When I come back from this quick break, we will delve into other things that we have packed up for you on the show. Don't go anywhere. Stay with us.